Decorating your home with vintage finds can be a fun and creative way to add character and charm to your space. Vintage items have a unique quality that can't be replicated by modern pieces, and they can add a sense of history and personality to your home. Whether you're drawn to mid-century modern furniture, shabby chic decor, or antique treasures, there are many ways to incorporate vintage finds into your home decor. In this video, we'll explore some tips and tricks for decorating with vintage items, including how to mix and match different eras and styles, how to repurpose vintage items in creative ways. So if you're ready to start adding some vintage charm to your home, let's get started. 1. Start with a theme. Before you begin shopping for vintage finds, it's important to have a clear idea of the aesthetic you're going for. For example, if you want a mid-century modern look, focus on finding pieces from the 1950s and 60s that have clean lines, simple shapes, and a minimalist vibe. If you're going for a shabby chic look, look for pieces with a distressed, worn-in feel and lots of feminine details like lace and floral patterns. 2. Mix and match. One of the keys to successfully decorating with vintage finds is to mix and match different pieces to create a unique, eclectic look. For example, you could pair a mid-century modern sofa with a vintage Persian rug and a rustic wooden coffee table. Or, you could mix different eras, like pairing a Victorian side table with a mid-century lamp. 3. Use vintage textiles. Vintage textiles are a great way to add texture and warmth to a space. Look for items like vintage quilts, tapestries, and linens to use as throws, tablecloths, or even wall hangings. For example, a vintage quilt could be used as a cozy throw on a mid-century modern sofa, or a vintage tapestry could be hung on a wall as a statement piece. 4. Hunt for unique lighting. Vintage lighting fixtures can add a lot of character to a space. Look for vintage lamps, chandeliers, and sconces to use as focal points in your room. For example, a vintage brass chandelier could be the perfect statement piece in a shabby chic dining room. Or a mid-century modern floor lamp could add a touch of vintage cool to a contemporary living room. Five. Repurpose vintage items. One of the most fun things about decorating with vintage finds is the opportunity to repurpose items in creative ways. For example, an old suitcase could be turned into a unique side table by adding legs and a glass top. Or, a vintage ladder could be used as a bookshelf by leaning it against a wall and adding shelves between the rungs. Six. Don't forget the details. Small vintage finds can add a lot of charm to a space. Look for unique items like old books, vintage photographs, and antique knick-knacks to display in creative ways. For example, a collection of vintage cameras could be displayed on a bookshelf, or a set of antique teacups could be hung on a wall as a decorative feature. 7. Balance vintage with modern. To keep your space from feeling too dated, be sure to balance your vintage finds with modern pieces. For example, you could pair a mid-century modern sofa with a contemporary rug and coffee table, or mix a vintage dining table with modern chairs. In conclusion, decorating with vintage finds can be a fun and rewarding way to add character and personality to your home. By following these tips and being creative with how you mix and match vintage pieces with modern elements, you can create a space that is uniquely yours.